that. But the Fed seems to be more focused on wages than cooling off. It's not in decline, it's just cooling off. And the reason that's important is if we're just counting how many people got jobs, understand the dynamic at play. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, they get rid of people who are making $300,000 to $600,000 a year. Those each count as one job. And then all of a sudden, we see all this hiring in warehouses. Those count as one job, but those people are making $15 an hour. It's not all the same thing. We happen to have job losses, finally. I don't mean that like, yay. I mean that like that's what the Fed is looking for. We finally have that amongst the employers paying the most amount of money to the people that they're laying off. And those people are being replaced by lower income workers. It's not all one thing. And I think because of that, if we focus on wages, the Fed is getting its way in the labor market. It's just not on the surface.
Here's the problem. Steve Weiss, if you take what Leisman said, okay, this sort of bombshell-like statement of, I don't trust that the Fed knows what's really going on here as it relates to inflation. And then you take what Kashkari said this morning on CNBC, that's the fear that then, okay, leave it up to them, and they're going to drive the thing right into a brick wall because they don't get it. They don't get it. And they keep talking like, well, we're going to go to 5.4%, and we're going to keep it there for a while. That's the equivalent of driving it into a brick wall, the car, if you believe Leisman.
Well, I think Steve does great work. I'm wonky myself. I like looking at all the data, as Josh does, as Jenny, as everybody. But guess what? The market doesn't care about that. So I could spend time answering that question. It doesn't matter. No matter what Powell says today, the market may have a knee-jerk reaction down lower, but guess what? It's going to rally again because the market's ignorant of actually what's going on. So what's at stake? You have to look at what's at stake. And what's at stake is already too high inflation, not already, consistently high inflation. And you know what destroys economies on a long-term basis? You know what destroys countries and democracies is persistently high inflation.
Right, but it's coming down.
Maybe it's at 20%, not 6%.
It's coming down, though.
It's coming down, but still it's nowhere near. So what's the biggest mistake the Fed could make? The biggest mistake the Fed can make is pausing and not sticking to their game plan. So I believe they will keep going and that you will see restrictive, which going back to yesteryear was 5% and above, and we're not there yet. It's still too easy.
If you
look at where the bonds are, credit is still too easy.
Take Scott's interpretation of what I'm saying here. Let me give you one fact. We went down unemployment from 3.8 to 3.6% in 2022. The employment cost index went down from 1.4 to 1%. So it was the opposite of the inflation dynamic that the Fed has told us is at work. Unemployment rate went down, employment costs went down. Wages in the last swing went down. Employment went up by 517,000. Maybe because of the effect that Josh talked about, the replacement of higher paid with lower paid workers. The point is that I do not see in the wage story driving the inflation story. And so therefore, you may have to at times drive the economy into a brick wall. I'm afraid it may not be necessary this time.
But
you drive,
but they seem intent on almost doing that.
Yeah.
Right? That's the greatest fear for...
I don't think that's the case.
Why? How do you suggest that? Why? What leads you to believe that it's not? What leads you to believe it's not?
Because a brick wall is awfully far away. We're sitting on the East Coast. That brick wall is not even in China. It's not even in California. It's in China. That's how far away it is. So they've got plenty of time. The economy's been extraordinarily resilient.
How do you know that? How do you know that? You're the one who says, well, what they've done hasn't even showed up yet in the market. So how do you know?
No, I said not. That's not what I said. What I said, the full impact. No, it's not, Scott. I said the full impact of what they've done has not shown up yet. Of course, some of it's shown up. You can't go from zero to where they are now and not see any impact.
So why do you keep arguing that they need to do a lot more if the full impact hasn't been felt yet? I don't understand that. If it hasn't been felt yet, how do we know?
Scott, let me ask you this. Where's inflation today?
Steve.
Where's inflation today?
It's probably
where's the inflation target?
It's probably lower than what the Fed actually thinks it is.
Do you think they could sit down and keep going down to 2%?